What up, Wolfpack? This is Ryan, the anomalous ambassador of the airwaves, and I'm just waiting for some people to pop into the chat here. Had to go live before the mighty new year. And let me tell you, there's a lot that's new on the agenda. Let's see here. We've got, let's see, we've got a lot going on. I was recently up to Space Wolf Research and had a lot of high strangeness take place up there. Man, my dog is freaking out outside. Let me see if I can calm this down. One moment. Hey, can we? I'm on a. Can we put the? Can we put the dog inside? I'm on something important. Sorry about that, guys. How's it going there? Talking. Dog freaking out outside. Got kids out there with. How's it going? Happy New Year's, fearlessly. Got kids out there with fireworks, and the dog is freaking out, of course. Okay, so where was I? How you doing, fearlessly? How's it going, talking? Thanks for sending me what you did. Happy New Year to you too. So, all right, I'm going to put a little timer, or I'll talk too much about what I'm about to talk about. Get a little drink of coffee here. Oh, you just came from Karen's live? That's great, fearlessly. Karen is the best. Okay, so this is very odd. Was up there at Space Wolf Research, did some experiments, and had some fun, particularly with some interesting devices and technologies. Had Jeff Rennell help me, and had a great time. Now, something really odd that happened on the way up was in the middle of the night on the drive there. We had an event where we heard something that sounded like gunfire, and I stopped. My passenger said that definitely sounds like gunfire. I got out of the car, went to the location where we thought we heard it, and found a shell casing, but it was not spent. Keep in mind, nobody was firing weapons around that particular area. So very synchronistic. This type of thing has happened before. Leaving Space Wolf Research, had an event in the rain where a vehicle felt like it had a wheel that was wobbly, and I pulled over, and on the wheel was a dry chunk of what looked like canine hair in the middle of a pouring rainstorm. I removed the dry canine hair from the tire, and guess what? No more car problems. So these things happen. I don't know if they're synchronistic hints that something else is transpiring and taking place, but whatever they are, they somehow pixelate into our reality, and it's almost like an apport. An apport is when you see something that seems to fall out from the sky and it shouldn't be there. It is incredible. Talking had fish, and I'll have to post some of these pictures of fish falling from the sky at Space Wolf Research. That's a weird one. Another really interesting thing that happened this trip is something that was happening, believe it or not, miles away. This is an unfortunate event. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about it at this point, but I'm going to go over it because it is it's noteworthy. Okay. There is and I don't like to kick people when they're down. I don't like to I think drugs and alcohol are a horrible thing. But there has been a recent, let's just say, Uinta Basin event where somebody that was a celebrity on one of those Uinta Basin TV shows had some events. Now, this is where things get interesting. So I'm going to read two different reports, and one of them gets a little bit odd because it gets into supernatural powers. So the first report, this is of course having to do with reality TV star, or I should say now former reality TV star, accused of beating a cellmate to death just days before he was scheduled to be released. Now, this is all allegedly at this point. I want to make sure that everybody knows this is all allegedly. Um, talking, you're absolutely right, might get off on an insanity plea because of what was recently put out there. So, this former reality TV star is uh, from the Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch, the Discovery Channel hit TV show. And the individual has been charged with killing his cellmate after guards at the Clark County Detention Center in Nevada found his cellmate's body motionless on Friday. So this happened just recently. Now, at that point, the inmate had not been identified. I do have information of who the cellmate is now, and I will relay that information. And I will also relate who from the Discovery hit TV show these allegations are being made against. A gentleman named Chad from the Mystery Blind Frog Ranch. I'm sure you've all heard of that show. Oh wow! Don't tell me this got pulled already. This is amazing. It looks like the story got pulled. Let me see if I can find it anywhere else. And it looks like it got pulled. It was on The Sun. If you're familiar with The Sun, thesun.com is this is the second bunch of information, but I'll just basically paraphrase what The Sun said. Okay. Let me see if they still have it. Yeah, it looks like they do still have it. I was able to go into the Wayback Machine. Thanks, Talking. I'm glad you got screenshots. But yeah, they have pulled the original story. Okay, and it goes on to say Chad, former Discovery Channel star. This is from the Blind Frog Ranch Discovery TV show. Let me get into this. I'll get into the important stuff and leave the mess out. So allegedly, again, get that out there, right? Allegedly, authorities say Ollinger admitted to killing this particular cellmate because it was a righteous act. He believed that his cellmate, a gentleman by the name of Chris Kelly, if I'm not mistaken, Christopher Kelly, he said that he believed Kelly was a pedophile. And he said that this belief came from a supernatural ability to read people's minds. Correctional officers discovered the cellmate had suffered multiple injuries and was given first aid, but pronounced dead at the scene. And allegedly, according to police, Ollinger told investigators he possessed a special power that allowed him to know things about people that others didn't know. He claimed he needed no proof of the alleged crimes because he could see into his mind. This is the quote, allegedly. This is from The Sun. Ollinger allegedly told detectives, good luck cracking the case. So this is why Talking said that this, and I think you'd met him, correct? And I think a lot of people probably in the chat may have met him. So anyway, let's get into this. He was a steady figure in Uinta Basin high strangeness. Yep, I thought you had met him. That confirms that. Talking, thanks for confirming that. And yeah, according to investigators, they say he expressed no remorse and claimed that he did not care if he spent the rest of his life in prison. So this is where that insanity plea might. Yeah, I agree with you. This is where that insanity plea might come in handy because none of this makes any sense, allegedly, right? And this is the problem. I mean, I don't want to make this congruent to the scenarios in the Uinta Basin because I know that there were other factors at hand. We've got some questions. Let's see. In the chat, what was he in jail for? Let me tell you what I know. From what I understand, there was an incident in New Mexico where he evaded police on a motorcycle, allegedly. Some charges came from that. He didn't have a driver's license at the time, if I'm not mistaken, allegedly. And that led to some other things, some other charges. It went to a grand jury, and because the Allingers do have significant funds, the family is allegedly quite funded. So it did go all the way to the grand jury. I don't know if that's the reason, but from what I understand, that's where these charges led, and there were some perjury. Let me make. I don't want to perjure myself here. Let me just pull up the other information I have. So I want to make sure that I say the correct things. And there is, man, I'm telling you, some of this information online, and I was just on the database with Clark County. This stuff is getting moved around, so there's stuff happening behind the scenes. But that, yeah, it's pretty wild. There was something about some. Let me see here. Sorry about the dog in the background. Anyway, something about the motorcycle. Then this led to other charges, is from what I understand. There was a few charges with the motorcycle event, and it is sad. E-Talking says what's sad is he has 4 kids. This is what's sad is whenever you have, there are a lot of allegations. Let's see. There are a lot of allegations here. Let me pull up what just got sent to me. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, so there are a lot of allegations from others who claim to have more information, but it's not validated, so I can't get into it. But this is big news for the Uinta Basin of Utah because this was a big show in the Uinta Basin of Utah. This was a big deal in the Uinta Basin of Utah. And now we have this individual who is a Discovery TV show star, claiming to allegedly have these supernatural powers that told him this other person was allegedly a pedophile. So pretty sad. And let's see. Oh, lots to go through here because there's a lot of other allegations which I'm not going to talk about because I just don't have the information. It seems to be from reliable sources, but at the moment I'm not going to get into it. Okay, let's go into the chat. I got to hang out with Chad a few years ago. That's cool. E-Talking. Let's see. Fearlessly says maybe chat with Chat GBT, since it's usually a bit behind, might be able to pull it back up. Good point. I'm going to look there right now. Yeah, the very sad part is that there's kids, right? And it's curious, as E-Talking is saying, that the story on why the victim. Okay, so the victim, and what's curious to me is that these are different areas. Like I'm not exactly sure how this all plays together, and they don't really talk about it too much. There's the information about New Mexico, but then there's also the information about the Clark County Detention Center in Nevada, allegedly, where this transpired. As I said, I did look on the website, and there was information having to do with this. Let's see. And these accusations. Now, where it's odd, this is where it's very odd, is because we're getting Potter County Sheriff's Office. And if you look at Potter County Sheriff's Office, this is obviously not in Las Vegas. There is a location in New Mexico that's also called Las Vegas. So this is important to point out. However, Potter County Sheriff's Office is in Amarillo, Texas. And this is where some of the information is coming from. We have some coming from New Mexico, and we have, of course, some allegedly coming from Clark County. So this is very strange. Now, there was a ranch, believe it or not, that the family, the Ollingers, allegedly owned in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Okay, so I'm trying to. It's difficult because with multiple towns with the same name, right? Why is there so much cross contamination? And it may be that these news outlets like the New York Post, the Sun, these are not like cream of the crop news sources. No offense to no offense to people that might work for them. But um, they're obviously getting it out now. The New York Post, in particular, said the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department talked about this. Now, this is where I get confused because it does have a number. You know, detectives investigate homicide and CCDC. I've got the number right here. CCDC and the number. So I guess this is one way to look it up. I guess I can out the number. There's nothing wrong with that. And it seems to coincide with what we're talking about. The number is LLV 2512-0010-1239 LBV. Now, this came out, the post date was 12/27/25 at 8:19 p.m. So I'm getting confused as to whether this, you know, because I know that there is a Las Vegas, New Mexico, but then I also know that this is an actual investigation into a homicide at the CCDC in Las Vegas, Nevada. Of course, Clark County, the Vegas we all know and love, not the Vegas, Las Vegas in New Mexico. But these cases are very strange, but it leads me back to these synchronicities, right? If you go to KPTV, which is 3 days ago, they have a very interesting, now this is an Oregon TV channel, which is strange that they would be talking about this. And they mention Amarillo, Texas. They mention Las Vegas Metro Police Department. It seems like this may have been a contempt charge that he was allegedly being held on. And this happened December 18th. The records show he was set for release January 12th, 2026, which is just around the corner. So this is really sad. And they further allege that this is the son of Dwayne Ollinger. And so it seems like it's legit. I'm not going to go any further than that. And the really important thing here, and I think the sad thing, is that this is somebody who was very involved with the high strangeness in the Uinta Basin. I respect that. This is a very unfortunate scenario and situation. It makes me sad. I pray for his family, all of them, because I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. This is absolutely sad, horrible, horrible stuff. So there's that going on. All right. Something else that is noteworthy, I think, is the fact that, okay, let me get into the chat and then we'll get into the noteworthy stuff. Let's see. Yeah, what's sad is he has 4 kids. This is tragic. And there have been allegations from some people that some of this stuff might be, anyway, you know, and I'm not going to go there. Never mind. It is sad. Let's see. What if Chad got a demonic hitchhiker attachment via Blonde Frog Ranch? This is a great point by E-Talking. Because we've been talking about this a lot on the podcast lately, how there seems to be the reality to human beings becoming vessels. And even since Bob Lazar's excerpts from the government Bible, which I actually have an original copy of that VHS. I'll grab it for you guys because this is kind of cool. This is actually really cool because you'll be hard pressed. I don't even have a VHS, but I had to have it. So this is directly from Lightworks Audio and Video in Los Angeles, California. Bob Lazar's excerpts from the government Bible. I've got to get a VHS apparently. And it goes into all of this cool stuff. Now, what's really interesting is this is 45 minutes of gold. And the reason I say that is it really is excerpts from the government Bible. It is him talking about top secret stuff and talking about things like the most top secret things, that we are genetically modified creatures. According to various calculations, we've been genetically modified 72 times, meaning human beings have been genetically modified 72 times by non-human intelligence, and there's something to this. And this goes all the way back to some of the writings of Zachariah Stitchin, which, say what you will about Zachariah Stitchin, people have tried to debunk everything he's done. But there are things that seem a little odd about mankind, humankind here on this planet. Let me go into them. If you look at all the other animals on this planet when they're born, it doesn't take them very long to figure out where they're at, walk around, move around, be self sufficient. A horse, a dog, a goat, a cat, a bear, monkeys. But when it comes to human beings, we come out and we are completely helpless, useless, can't do anything. Um, Almost as if we're not made for this planet. There's also something else, which is the fact that no other animal seems to have any issues with things like sunburns, with things like let me get a little deeper here. They don't they seem more made for the planet, right? They have thicker skin, hair. Um, we need clothes to cover ourselves up. We need shelter. We need all these things to kind of protect us from this planet. It seems like we may be from some place that has less gravity. And if you believe in the writings of Zechariah Stitchin and things like the Anunnaki, if you go back to ancient Sumerian texts in Mesopotamia, and like the ziggurat of Ur, and all of these ancient texts talking about, Anu and the Anunnaki and Enki and Enlil and these creatures that were bigger. They seem to be bigger. And this may have something to do with gravity, right? Like you're able to grow into your full self. Let me jump into the chat really quick because I had some things come out. Okay, so we were modified by a variety of gods with a small g. I like the small g there, talking. I agree. Fearlessly Phoenixing says, funny how animals melanin matches the needs for their environment, just not us. Exactly. And while we're on this topic, the other strange thing is that we have lower back pain quite often, almost as if our, that's weird. Like we're not supposed to, like we have a hard time. It doesn't take long in a human's life for them to start having lower back pain. And that is also potentially attributed. But a lot of these things are covered with the vessel description and excerpts in the government Bible. Let me explain. If we are in fact vessels, which it seems to be one of the most top secret theories, that these non-human intelligences view us as vessels for consciousness or non-corporeal holographic entities to be able to take control over it. I mean, and I'm talking about possession versus neurosis, right? These are mental health, where mental health meets possession. It's neurosis. In mental health, but there is that fine line where I believe it crosses over into possession, where people do things that are absolutely inexplicable. And as in the chat, Talking pointed out, what if Chad got a demonic hitchhiker attachment via Blind Frog Ranch? These things are not unheard of. The hitchhiker theory is something that is very much discussed in a variety of texts, not only all of these Bigelow, NIDS, Bass program experiments and texts and papers that I've received, but also in books like Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, for example. James Lakatsky and George Knapp and Colm Kelleher have documented this quite well, that there is something along the lines of a hitchhiker effect. And it's even the name of the band for Travis Taylor, right? So it makes you wonder what the deal is. If there could be a variety of things going on. I'm not going to theorize. It's just a really sad situation. It makes me sad for him. So pray for Chad, pray for his family. It's a sad scenario. Let's get into the chat again. Fearlessly Phoenixing. That's where I wonder about the magnetic field frequency. If distorted or imbalanced, could it be like a weakened barrier or like a compromised spiritual immune system? 100% Fearlessly Phoenixing. I think you're right. And Talking says, I feel blessed to have never gotten a hitchhiker since I've been to so many strange places. Isn't that the truth, Talking? You've been to them and various times. You've been to Space Wolf Research various times as well. So you've been a lucky one. Okay, so another very interesting thing about excerpts from the government Bible is it talks about S4 as well as details on the propulsion systems that were used to travel great distances. And this is some of the experimentation that we've been taking place or that we've been taking part in, which has taken place at Space Wolf Research using a variety of technologies, which many would claim are non-human intelligence based technologies or reverse engineered technologies having to do with sacred geometry. Etalkin says, "My gods protect me for some reason." Yes, man, I hear that. Um, Now there's a ton of other stuff lately that anyway, the Chad thing, super sad. Please pray for Chad. It's not good, and let's just God only knows how this will come out. But I pray for him, pray for his dad, pray for his family, pray for everybody. It's just a sad scenario. Okay, so moving on. UFO whistleblower David Grush, former National Reconnaissance Office representative of the Defense Department's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, is now being classified as a first person witness. Prior, he was like second or third hand witness. Now they are classifying him as a first person witness, that he's actually seen some of the stuff we're talking about. Now, he calls them biologics. And this makes me wonder, back to the hitchhiker effect. If these things are archonic, yep, Solomon's 72 demons. I thought about that too. Mystical Wonderland, you know how to point out the obvious. If we have been genetically modified 72 times, right? And there are allegedly 72 principalities, or if you've read Solomon's Lesser Key, he goes into a bunch of stuff in the greater and lesser keys and in the Testament of Solomon. But the 72 principalities that Solomon talked about, 100%, here we have a coincidence, a synchronicity with 72. We also have Mephistopheles is watching over you in all your dreams. I like that. Very cool. Good comment, Eric Sania 721. And if these are non-human intelligence or archons, this is the type of thing that they're waiting for. They're hiding in the shadows, right? They are not necessarily horned demons waiting to attack. They're intelligences embedded in the matrix, in our mathematical structure, in our reality as we see it. Which, if you've seen some of the experiments with lasers up against flat surfaces, which we've done, you can in fact see code in the lasers. And this is very prominent. Sorry for hitting the microphone. This is very prominent when people use mind-altering substances like DMT, mushrooms, or other things like that. We don't go that route, but we do use the technology. And when you are using lasers and you're looking deeply in a laser, you can also use lit magnifying glass or microscopes to look deeper into the lasers. And you can see that there are seemingly mathematical codes, it appears, embedded in structure. Now, if there's mathematical codes embedded in structure, then there's a possibility or possibilities that there are intelligences that are also embedded in our matrix, our structure of reality. If this is the case, if there are patterns and they are there, then they would probably be able to jump into the material world when they see an empty vessel. So in the deepest, and I'm just going to get into this a little bit. Let's see. I'm seeing the chat blow up here. Oh, 100%. Let's see. I have tried to find photos of renderings of what they see. If anyone knows where to find those, please let me know. Yes, Fearlessly Phoenixing. Not only that, I will tell you how to do it yourself and how to do it without the intoxication aspect, right? So what you want to do is you want to get good quality glass, either Zeiss lenses for microscope lenses, or even better, high powered magnifications, 10x or more. Like a jeweler's loop has worked in the past, but better if you don't have to be that close to the laser. Nice thing about a jeweler's loop is you can get close to the laser and then you can move the loop to where you get a perfect visual agreement and you can see them. The lasers we've used are the DeWalt sort. They have these DeWalt laser levelers that you can buy, these machines, which are 100% mobile because they work off DeWalt batteries. You can put those up to something that is seemingly perfectly flat, and you can get after it with the optics. Now, if you don't see it, don't freak out, no big deal. Obviously easier to see for people that are on DMT, I'm sure. But there does seem to be some fragmentation that arises from the magnification. And that fragmentation is where you can see these numbers embedded in structure. Let's see. I want the lenses used in the Vietnam War before they disappeared. Yeah, the diocesan glasses or the goggles. We've got a couple pairs of those. That's the purple fluid in those glasses. Diacesan. I always mess it up. Anyway, yes, those are amazing. Those lenses, they were used, and you can still get them. There are a couple places where you can still get them, and one of them is over at Museum of Tarot. If you go over to Museum of Tarot, they have those lenses for sale. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. So we have Talkin saying, what about a walk-ins? He's bringing in walk-ins, which is a really cool term. That's basically these entities, these non-corporeal, or maybe they are corporeal, but these entities that seem to be lying in waiting for the right time to walk into people and take over their consciousness. The reason is because of what I've seen. I've wanted to check if it's similar. Good points, guys. Great points. We have Talkin saying that there's AI built into. Let me get back here. Let's see. He says there's AI built into it. There's new ones that see in color, he says. Oh, that's the goggles he's talking about. And yeah, you can get the old style ones over there at Museum of Tarot. One of the only places where you can still get the allegedly correct ingredient and correct type. Fearlessly says, in a name, people get ported into other world and take over life for another, and it's usually when something would have changed. Yep, exactly. When there's a fork in the road or a change. And with these non-human intelligences, they may be archonic. So getting back to this, embedding these structures, this mathematical intelligence seems to be embedded in structure, which you can see in some of these laser tests through pattern and repetition. In the deepest esoteric traditions, the material world is not evil, but it's unfinished, right? And people that go on these DMT trips, they say the same thing. There's always there's construction. Everything's under construction. There's these little beings, worker elves, they call them, or they call them machine elves, that are constantly working on the fringes of our reality, kind of keeping everything together. It's almost like a mechanical, spiritual yet predictable falsehood. This patterning, and there seem to be these non-human intelligences seem to be the administrators of this, that govern over things like time, fate, instinct, survival, and identity. Now, what's odd is if these archons are not created by evil, then they are probably born from imbalance. If you follow ancient Gnostic readings, you'll see that they seem to have emerged from a rupture in divine intelligence itself. So in other words, they're a byproduct or an artifact of the system, kind of like a computer virus. God is love. What's up? Happy New Year, my man. Love you. Good to see you in here. I'll see you at about 6 p.m. maybe. I should be there. And let's see, we've got archons, divinity, the possession, and in occult cosmology, the archons are linked to planetary spheres. Each sphere governs a psychic function. So there's fear, desire, ambition, shame, pride, lust, control. These are not sins. And in sin, Latin just means missing the mark. So sin is not boom, you're done, you're out. No, it's just you miss the shot, shoot again, go again, do it again. This is just how life is designed. The architecture of our unconscious agreement. Sure, there's records and allegedly these entities like Metatron keeping track, But the predictability is, we do still have self-will on some level. What I heard really interestingly lately is it's not as great of self-will as we think. It is a limited scope of self-will. So we have like self-will, but there's guardrails, right? To a certain extent, whether you want to call those guardian angels or whatever. There's perception, and then there's when perception turns inward. In other words, the jurisdiction weakens, and we have these guardrails that pull up or pop up a lot like when you're playing pinball and the guardrails come up. All right, let's get into the chat. Fearlessly Phoenixing. That's why I call our flawlessly designed survival system egos. Yes, I like that. Flawlessly designed survival system. EGOS, which stands for Earth Generated Operating System. That's epic, fearlessly. Found in all living things from Earth's biome. The other aspect is the consciousness soul. Nice. And this is what true gnosis is, in my opinion. And why it's always been like why these secret societies have always met in private. Because true gnosis or knowledge, gnosis just means knowledge, this is dangerous, not because it's against like the big God or anything like that, but because it bypasses intermediaries and control systems. And typically, if you follow the belief systems of ancient peoples, the archons rule by ruling or walking into people in power positions or in charge of those control systems. So the archons rule the systems. And gnosis has an ability to dissolve the systems from within. It does not rebel outwardly, it outgrows control silently. And this is why some groups have always been so secretive. I mean, secret societies have been a part of mankind almost since our beginnings. And it's funny because they're meeting and ruling in secret because they're technically trying to, yeah, from the inside, change things from the inside, outgrow control silently. Really interesting stuff. Now, the other thing that's interesting that's been going on lately is I don't know if you've been seeing these. That I'll just get into it. Supporters of a strange theory that extinction. This is great. I love this. Now, my kid loves dinosaurs. I got to have a little bit of coffee here because this is deep. My kid loves dinosaurs. And we've been talking about how humankind may not be from this planet necessarily genetically modified to live here or to become what we are. Zachariah Stitchin alleged that humankind, of course, if you follow the Anunnaki story, we were created to mine the gold for them. And we did that. And now we're just kind of hanging out. But there's a controversial theory which suggests that one of Earth's mass extinctions may have not been caused by an asteroid. I'm talking about the dinosaurs. Not an asteroid, not a meteor. This theory is that there might have been a crash landing of a massive non-human craft, so a mothership. And here's the kicker. A mothership crashing, killing all the dinosaurs, messing up the environment, doing what it did. And on that mothership was us. Yeah. And supporters have pointed, this is crazy. Let me get to the chat really quick. I think we were brought here and then altered throughout time. That's what I agree with. That's a good point, E-Talkin. And Fearlessly Phoenixing says, what if the secret societies were originally like IT guys to make sure that the program ran while it was scheduled to? Exactly. I like that IT possibility. And to ensure that they need to know the truth. Those are the machine elves, right? Like keeping everything running. And yes, there was a flood. There's no question of that. That's been proven by multiple, not only texts, but science. So supporters of this theory that there's this mass mothership with humans on it that lands, messes up everything, kills off the dinosaurs, they point to the same physical evidence we already accept as proof of catastrophe. So extreme heat, debris layers, shocked minerals, sudden collapse of ecosystems. They argue that these are signatures which match what you'd expect from a planet impact event. Regardless, the debate is that it's no longer whether or not something catastrophically struck Earth that was passive, but something catastrophically struck Earth that was active. So basically, there's that, or maybe it was weaponized. Maybe this craft was weaponized and it destroyed these massive creatures on the planet so that we potentially, according to the theory, allegedly could survive. Very, very mind blowing theory. I love when these series come up, they kind of blow my mind. Pat Breeze, when we're off Earth, they say our biological clock goes by Mars time. Wonder if we have to adapt to every planet. Good point. Right. Kind of, right? It seems like that's a possibility. And Fearlessly Phoenix says, kind of reminds me of the information in the reading of that female reptilian interaction paper. I know what you're talking about. And yes, it does. Reptilians, this is an interesting scenario with reptilians because this comes up over and over and over again. And there is a possibility, if you believe in consciousness, if we did come down and destroy, let's just go with this theory, which is out of this world. If we were on this craft, according to these theorists, and we came down and destroyed all these reptiles, that reptilian consciousness could still be around and could very much be some sort of intelligence that could then step in or manifest itself in certain ways. ADP, hey everyone, I'm at work, so might have to watch the stream later. Happy New Year to you, ADP. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Well, let's stick with that. Happy New Year's to all you guys. Love you guys. We're going to get back into this and talk more. I need to start getting the kids out there with their sparklers set up. It's getting darker. But yeah, I had to get into some of these things. There were a bunch of other weird things that happened to Space Wolf Research. I'll come on and talk about those, but I hope you all have a very blessed and safe and happy New Year. Pray for those that need it and keep your eyes to the skies, feet on the ground, but don't forget to take a look around. Take care.